Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Maribel Blue Unfiltered. As I mentioned on my coaching channel, I will be expanding Unfiltered, and this is going to be a new segment called the Unfiltered Rabbit Hole. There will be times that I will do this show alone, and there will be times that I will have guests with me so that we can sort out everything that goes deep into that rabbit hole, from crime stories to unfiltered entertainment news, the paranormal, conspiracy theories. We are going to dig deep. So if you are new here, welcome. As you heard, we do have a new segment. I keep saying we, it's me. I do have this new segment. Plus, I do discuss reality TV, The Bachelorette, which I'm still editing from my top 4. I have not seen this week's episode. I will be putting that together. I don't want to even spoil myself, that I can see if my predictions were right. And if you are not new, welcome. Thank you so much for your support and your love and sticking with me during a very difficult time. And like I said, all of that is on my coaching channel, which I will put all of those links down below. And be sure to subscribe to that channel, support that channel, because there's going to be a lot of different topics. I'm inviting Andrew again. We're going to be recording in the next few weeks. We're going to talk about mental health and weight gain/weight loss and how to go about those steps effectively in order for you to lose weight healthy. Now, it's funny that I'm talking about weight. This topic will be about Lizzo and all of the stuff that's been going on. Now, I'm going to be reading my notes. I'm going to do this a little different than I would do with Bachelorette and with all of the reality TV shows. This is going to be more like a docu-style. So you'll be seeing a lot more of video clips and or pictures inserted when I go edit this video, and less of me because I'm not the topic. Lizzo is. Let's dig into that unfiltered rabbit hole. Other than being known for being a body positive advocate, Lizzo is also well known for her music. Born in 1988, she grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and Houston, Texas, studying and playing classical flute before moving to Minneapolis, where she got exposed to the hip hop scene, thus making a name for herself in 2011. Now, let's fast forward right to the fame, right to when she acquired it, had documentaries made about her. She also appeared on an episode of Howard Stern, and I'll be getting into that as well. Lizzo isn't one to hide her weight. She has made claims of being aware of who she is, as well as her size, and that her size should not hold relevance to who she is as a musician. She did talk about on the Howard Stern show how she was mocked for being overweight, and she's at that point where she says, move on, I'm over it, and it's not something that you should be using against her. In other words, her feelings aren't hurt if people call her all of these disparaging names. She did put out a statement, and I will be reading that verbatim, but my thing is, we live in a world where being slender is much more acceptable than being a healthy looking person or a person that's moderately overweight. The thing is, if you took a girl and she put up her graduation picture with a cap and gown, and then right next to that picture, or like another post after that picture, she would put a picture of her in a bikini, guaranteed the picture with the bikinis would gain more likes than they would with the cap and gown, because for some reason the body parts are much more important than somebody actually getting an education, which I believe is a lot of problems. It's a lot of problems in this world that we live in today. I was watching another YouTuber earlier, and he was talking about these different, and I don't want to get into specifics, but there are people today that just can't seem to accept a loss. They don't want to learn from that. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants a prize. And you know what? That is not the way life is. You can't win a prize for everything. I sure didn't. And I learned from that. So I don't understand the whole logic of I have to be a winner in everything.
You've got to be number one. I won't tolerate any losers in this family. Your intensity is for shit. Win! Win! win.
I have to have second prize, third prize, fourth prize. There's no such thing. Needless to say, in the times of social media, this is the world that we live in now. And I guess until everybody surpasses it and finds a way to acknowledge themselves and love themselves and what have you. Anyway, getting back to Lizzo. While Lizzo is trying to normalize being heavy is fine, a lot of the times we miss the greater picture of some people, like myself, cannot carry that type of weight. Now, I'm not big like Lizzo. For my small frame, yes, I am considered overweight. And as a result, other health issues are accompanying because of me being overweight. And the other thing is, didn't Missy Elliott also lose weight? When she first started out in this industry, she was on the heavy side. And actually, I was watching something earlier about the dark side of the music industry. I didn't even know when Missy Elliott was making music, like early on, that somebody else came into, I guess in the music videos, it was always about the looks and not so much the talent. Yes, they had the talent. We had Milli Vanilli, but they weren't the ones singing it. It was somebody else that was singing. It was a whole entire different group that was singing.
Love, girl, and this is true. Girl, you know this, 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 girl, you know this.
And as a result, their lives were destroyed. That was the time of the 80s where music videos came out and it was all about the looks. And Missy Elliott, I mean, eventually we all know who she is. We all know who she looks like, but she was on the heavy side and then eventually lost weight because of health issues. Now, Lizzo is young, so she may be able to go on being at the weight that she is. But once you get older, like your body's going to be like, no, I can't do that unless she has somebody to take care of her, so to speak, and do things that we normally do and not even think twice about it, like putting on our underwears and pants. If she's prepared to have somebody else to do that for her, then more power to her. Let's get into what happened recently. Lizzo is in the middle of a very ugly lawsuit. Now, she's not going to be the first person to be sued in this manner of things that happen within her organization. She won't be the last. We've seen this time and time again. And in the words of a sponsor that I had many years ago, she said, everybody gets a turn. And I never knew what that meant. I thought it was a bad thing. She was like, no, it's not good or bad. Everybody just gets a turn. And I guess this is Lizzo's turn. From some of her dancers, she's being sued for an abusive environment, hostile things that she was saying to her dancers that was unacceptable, an event that occurred at the red light district in February. And I'm going to guess it was February of this year and not last year. I think people were able to travel last year. We were slowly lifting from all of the crazy stuff. I believe it was this year. You can comment down below and correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, Lizzo put out a statement recently responding to this lawsuit, and I will read it verbatim. On an Instagram post, Lizzo stated, and I quote, "These last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethics, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually I choose not to respond to these false allegations, but these are just as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous not to be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional," unquote. Now, of course, this can go many different ways. The dancers are saying something completely opposite. There's another person who I don't believe she's involved in the lawsuit who had experiences with Lizzo during a documentary, 2 different documentaries that Lizzo, I guess, paid for or produced. Whatever the situation was, I don't know how this girl came into play. She could have been a makeup artist. She could have been a coffee girl, whatever it is. The fact remains, she felt she was spoken to in a very disrespectful manner and nobody really stuck up for her. And I guess she walked off. And again, she did not state which documentary it was that she was involved in. Now, as far as the lawsuit is concerned, the attorney for the dancers, Ron Zambrano, states how management treated them privately is quite the opposite of what she stands for, she being Lizzo. Okay, so what are the details? A night in Amsterdam in February, they visited a club in the red light district where you can interact with the nude dancers when one of the dancers pressured to interact with one of the nude performers. After the dancer repeated they did not want to. Now, I know there are specifics with this that included a banana being put in a certain part of the body, and I guess they were supposed to eat the banana. And let me tell you something. People drink. They go out, they drink, and sometimes they would do things that they would not normally do within a sober mind. Now, I don't know if people were drinking that night. I don't know if the dancer was drinking. Regardless, you couldn't pay me enough to have a banana in somebody else's body part and then think that I'm going to eat it. Drunk or not drunk. No, it will never ever happen. So in that regard, yeah, like if you're being egged on and this is what goes on in this particular establishment, get up and walk away. Of course, there's always a flip side to other things, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I'm going to continue reading on. Lizzo is also accused of a toxic work environment, allegedly being accused of telling the dancers that they're not performing up to par. Some of them are gaining weight and questioning the commitment of their employment with her. In other words, their performance. This can go in so many ways. And that's not to say that this doesn't happen in a corporate atmosphere. Movies are made with this type of dialogue, with this type of atmosphere, hostility in the workplace. If somebody is developing their career, their boss could tell them, well, if you don't do this way, I'm going to blacklist you. You'll never find work here again. Whatever the situation is, who knows what Lizzo was telling them within that, what they call an allegedly toxic environment. Again, I don't know. I'm just sharing what I found on the internet. Here's the other thing. Please keep an open mind, because I find that when something happens with a celebrity, everybody's talking about cancel this, cancel that. And then half of the times you find out, oh, it didn't go that way. Or, oh, I can't believe that they were lying. We were thinking all of these things. We didn't stand by the person and support them or do our research. Like nobody does research anymore. They just take everything at face value and right away they want to cancel. People need to stop that. Like seriously, think about it. I was just watching Dr. Grande the other day. He was talking about that biker Karen girl back in New York City, where she was purchasing purchasing for a rental bike. Now, it so happens that when it was recorded, they caught it in the middle of what was something that was already happening. Apparently, the guys, they ride the bikes for about 45 minutes to whatever destination they're getting to. After 45 minutes, the bike rate of the rental goes up. So they go and they park the bikes and they wait so that the timer resets and then they can go and get it for a cheap rate. They're sitting around. They're waiting for the timer to reset. Now you put the bike back. The bike is now available for rental for somebody else. And when the recording came on, it looked like she was stealing the bike from the guy. She was not stealing the bike. Yes, given the whole fake crying thing, that did not help her. But to assume that this girl is racist or whatever it is that, Karen, whatever it is that you want to call her, to assume that because we came into the middle of this clip. Now everybody's like, even me. I mean, I was like, oh, who the hell is she? Get in a cab. That was my response to this whole thing. And then when Dr. Grande broke everything down, I was like, wow. This is what I get for just assuming shit. Things that we see on the internet all the time. Clips that we have seen, we didn't see it transpire from the beginning. We see it transpire either after the situation has happened, in the middle, whatever it is that's going on. People have closed their mind. They see a clip, they've made up their mind. This is the person at fault. This is the person that's the victim. Let's get that person. How many businesses have been chastised because they would have the same name as another business. And now they're getting low ratings on Google, and then they have to go and correct that. It's just complete insanity. Everyone's reacting. Nobody is critically thinking of their actions. If I do this, this can happen. Not necessarily that it's going to happen, but review the possibilities of what can happen. Now, in the case of Lizzo, maybe it just came to a point. She came into fame. She came into a fortune. Money equals power. And when you have that kind of power and you're fully aware that you have that kind of power, can you induce fear on another person that's working for you? Yes. If you tell a person, you know what, you're gaining weight, you keep this up, you're not going to be working for me anymore. How do you think that's going to make somebody feel? It's not going to make them feel good about themselves. They're going to feel insecure. They're going to have low self-esteem. It's almost like living with a narcissist, like a shit show where they're saying all of these things, but meanwhile, they're a mess and will always be. That was some personal shit, because I'm sure that shit show is watching, and I just want to remind him, you will always be a shit show, okay? Now, with Lizzo and everything that was going on, I want to cut now into her interview with Howard Stern that she had in December of 2022. In one part of her interview, she talked about technical issues which occurred at Coachella and admitting it upset her because the sound kept breaking in and out, and she just kept singing and kept rolling with it. Even though she admitted being upset, she did not elaborate how she got upset. Her response was, the most important aspect for her is when someone fucks up, she expects for them to be accountable. In other words, and that's not being unrealistic, that's being very realistic in the sense that, let's say somebody was working the mics or the sound and they messed up. Hey, I messed up. It's not going to happen again. I saw the problem. I corrected the problem. I could assure you that it will never happen again. Now, if she has any common sense, she would trust that person and not fire them on the spot and say, you know what? Mistakes happen. Everything worked out. The audience wasn't aware of what was going on. We kept it going, moving on. Now, if a problem occurs time and time again, then you would have to sit down with that employee and say, what's going on? What's happening? Now, this is my own personal take on having a business and having employees on how I would address situations. I'm not going to talk to them like crap because people do make mistakes. I don't want to make an environment hostile where they feel like they can't be comfortable around me or have fear. That's not a really good feeling to have. And you know what? For whatever the dancers were experiencing while being employed under Lizzo was enough, the three of them, because I believe it is three of them, went and sought out an attorney and said, this is what happened. Now it's up to the attorney to show proof that these things happen. If somebody's recording conversations or recording video, could that be used? I don't know. I'm not an attorney. So that would be something that I would have to speak to an attorney and kind of find out and gauge what are the laws in the state, whatever it is that she resides in, or the state where the incidents occurred. I don't know how much you can use of what happened abroad. But again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know what the rules are. All I know is that right now there are three angry people at Lizzo making accusations. Lizzo stands in. These were people that behaved inappropriately. They've been told their behavior is inappropriate. And at the end, they were let go. Now, I understand one of the dancers left on her own because of the other two getting let go. You know what? The same can say for what happened with Madonna's dancers at the Blonde Ambition tour. Who would have known years later that these guys would have came out and say things that they experienced, any hostility towards Madonna or feeling like they had a career with her and then all of a sudden she just cut them off. This is something that I also want to do. I want to do a little bit of a documentary on this. this because I don't know if anybody can understand what it is to be in a position where you are making an enormous amount of money, you are getting recognized in the street, you have acquired fame for that short time through someone else, and then all of a sudden it gets taken away. And how do people deal with that? Here is my final thought on all of this. And this is what I wrote. Can we safely say Lizzo will not be the first or the last to go off on stagehands? People just took that with a grain of salt and didn't say anything about it other than, oh my God, like what jerks? How could they do something like that? And then everybody moved on. Nobody's even thinking about it. Believe me, a year from now, nobody's going to be thinking about Lizzo. Everything is going to go back to normal. And you're not going to be thinking about it. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, she has to be canceled. Nobody is going to cancel her. The record companies are not going to listen to you or me in an angry state of what she said or what she claims, because I don't know if she said that, so let me correct myself. What these dancers are claiming she said or did to them while they were under her employment. Celebrities live a particular life that a person like myself will not fully understand unless I'm there or unless I'm married to a celebrity. So I can understand that lifestyle. Have I hung out with celebrities once upon a time? Yes, I have. I have seen how they live. I have seen how they interact with other people. I have seen that. Does it change my opinion on them? No, because you know what? They're still human at the end of the day. So for everybody to be in such an uproar, like you should have the same uproar when a corporate person treats a person who's just trying to work, who's just trying to get a job done. Where are you when things like that happen? I think we can all say that we have worked in a toxic environment in one form or another in our lives. Look at my last video on my coaching channel. I was in a very, very toxic environment. It played with my head. It played where I was wondering if I should continue. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into detail, but basically continue. It just came to a point like, where am I going with my life? What's going to become of me? That is not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling to be in a toxic place where everything is dysfunctional day after day after day. And you're sitting there saying it should not be this way. It's not like you're crazy, but you need to hear people out. Now, it could be that these people are angry at her and they figured, let's take out a lawsuit. Let's get her back. These things are possible. There are people who will hate you when you keep rising that ladder to fame or whatever it is that you're doing in your career. There are people who will hate you. There are people who will say lies about you. Believe me when I tell you, I know firsthand, and I'm going to talk about that on my Patreon channel. All I'm saying is keep an open mind. I don't follow Lizzo. I don't follow her music. That's not to say that just because I don't follow her, that nothing is impossible about this situation, about what happened. I think she's going to settle out of court. That's what I think. If these dancers are looking for a big payout, hopefully they'll get it and go away and move on with their lives. I think that's the best thing that anybody can do at this point. But for everybody to be in this uproar, like really, what are you going to do about it? It's kind of like sitting in front of the TV and screaming at the TV and nobody's listening. So that's all I got for the Unfiltered Rabbit Hole. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think of the Lizzo situation and other situations that are similar that occurred. How did that turn out? Please do share those comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and, of course, my coaching channel. And until then, always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other. Most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.